Yeah, thank you, choir. That was so heart-moving. It's really a privilege to have such talent in our community. So today, as you know, is the last day of the year, 2023. Yes, those who are here, you survived. You made it. Let's give yourselves a hand. One more year, 2023. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk you through a process of kind of completing your year. And this is something that I like to do. I do myself and also together with my family, in workshops, in many different settings. I've done this, and I like to offer this to you to help you also complete your year well and offer it up to God tonight in prayer, okay? So the title of today's message is Offering Your Year. It happens to be the last day of the year. And I want to start with sharing a little bit of the biblical process of offering. Probably the most simplest example is Abraham's time. Do you remember back in the day, God asked central figures to make an offering of what? In Old Testament age? Animals, right? Different animals, cows, heifers, goats, birds. And do you remember what the process was in making those offerings? What did they have to do with those animals? First is they had to cut the animal in half. God knows why. Had to cut. It's not easy. Imagine like cutting a cow in half. Ugh, right, yeah. Anyway, that's what was asked. God asked for the animals before they were offered, they had to be cut in half. And then do you know what they did after they cut the animal in half? They drained the blood and then put them on top of each other. Now, what was the process there? Was there any special way that you had to place one on top of the other? It was right over left, apparently. And then after that happened, so you cut the animal, drain the blood, right over left, and then what was the final step? Burn it, right? You actually burn the animal or the carcass as part of the offering process. So that's what they did back in the day. Shall we do that today as well? Anyone have cows? You might be able to get some at the butcher, right? Fortunately, humanity has evolved, and our ability to relate with God and make an offering to God has also matured. So God is no longer asking us to cut animals in half. Thank goodness for the animals. But instead, God is looking for you to offer yourself. Now, what does that mean? Okay. Yeah, don't get any bad ideas here, okay? But internally speaking, in making an offering of any time period, it is important to divide yourself. Okay, and what I mean by divide yourself, it's really about claiming what was good in your year and what was not so good. Okay? And that's what it means to divide. So when you're able to take a moment to reflect and claim what was good in this past time period, and also things that maybe you didn't do so well, or you failed, or you regret, that's also very important process to divide both the good and the not so good. Okay? Because if you don't do that, the offering is not purified. It's actually not a clear offering. So it's important to reflect. In order to make a clear offering, you need to be able to claim what was good, what was not so good. And then, but it doesn't end there. But let's start with that process Actually, you know what? Let me just explain the whole process and then we'll walk you through again. So the cool thing is, in the animal offering, did they just burn the right half? No, right? They actually burned both. So what that means is that it's not that you let go or criticize the things that you did bad. That's not the point. You're supposed to actually include and offer both the good and the bad together. And when you place one over the other and offer it together, that's the process of really claiming, what did you learn from both the good and the bad? And as long as you learn from it, you can offer both together. And the burning is really representative of really offering and letting it go up to God. And so today you'll have a chance. We will encourage you to pray at the Chuncheon 1 after the reflection. But also tonight, if you'd like, either individually or I think we're going to have a service here in the midnight prayer. You can offer your reflection, both the good and the bad. Offer it up in prayer. Offer yourself to God in prayer. And that way, that's the symbolism of burning that they did in the past. So that process that was eons, centuries, thousands of years ago still applies to us today. But instead of cutting animals, it's about offering your heart and your time period to God to complete the year and prepare for the next. Okay, so that's the whole process, and we're going to walk you through it. It's going to be short for the service, but I want to encourage you to take some time afterwards to do that. So we went through these 5 key steps. Claiming your victories. We're going to go through challenges, the lessons that you learned, and then the last 2 steps, which I think is important to also think about, is to commit to new action based on what you learned, and ultimately, finally, offer it all up in prayer. So this is really the 5 key steps to offering yourself. Again, any time period is good when you're in a transition period, but particularly at the end of a year, I really recommend going through this process for yourself. Okay, so it's not moving. That's why it's not working. Okay, here we go. All right, so claiming your victories. So I did a brief process for myself, just as an example. But I'm gonna, after I share my examples, I'd like you to take a little bit of time to reflect on your own victories this year. So 2023, it's been a long year, 12 months. You know, for me this year, some of my key victories, number 1 would be I was able to successfully go to a family reunion in Japan for 2 weeks. Yes, that was great. That was 2 weeks. That was the longest vacation I ever took in my life. But fortunately, because of my wife preparing everything, I was able to just hop on the plane last minute and join. Second victory I'd like to claim is completing my service as the national president of Family Federation for 2.5 years. So thank you. Thank you. I mean, you're welcome. No. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty challenging, but I wanted to claim that victory of having completed that. A third victory I'd like to claim is there was an Achieve coaches training program that I developed this summer with my team, and we were able to successfully train 33 new coaches. So let's give that a hand. And then just 2 more things. One is as part of President Dunkley's request for pastors to meet with members, I was able to host breakfasts at my house. And I met with 50 different families in the last three months. It wasn't impressive. Half the meals were natto and rice, and miso soup. But we did have egg sausage, one-time pancake, a special deviled eggs experience. But yeah, that was quite a victory. And then finally, in this last month, I committed to starting exercise again. So I started exercising. I know you can't see it yet, but you know, it takes time. It takes time. But 3 days a week, I've been going to intense training, 45-minute, like on and off, like 1 minute exercise, 10 seconds off, 1 minute, 10 seconds off. It's a pretty intense experience. But you know, again, claiming victories doesn't have to be all big. It can be as small as, you know, getting up for hundoke, or cleaning your room. We were able to clean out our garage for the first time this year. So different things are important, but the main thing is you need to claim the victories. No one else can claim those victories for you. That is your responsibility. So please take a moment now, next 90 seconds, think about what are some victories you'd like to claim for 2023. Let's have some reflection music. And then we'll have a chance later to discuss and share with a neighbor. Okay, 90 seconds. Let's begin. This is self-reflection time. You can write something down if you like. All right, so that's 90 seconds. I know it's really short, but this is just to stimulate you. I want to encourage you to take more time later to reflect more fully on your victories. So next, after your victories, just as important is to acknowledge your challenges and failures. Okay? The thing is, in order to start new, and tomorrow is the new year, it's really important to acknowledge any kind of thoughts of regret or anything that you're holding on to from this year. Because if you don't complete that and offer it, you're going to drag that into the new year. You want that? Do you want your failures to continue with you in 2024? All right, so it's really important to acknowledge whatever didn't go as planned or as intended or as you liked, to acknowledge it, because it's through acknowledging it and learning from it that it actually becomes now a building block for your future success. But if you don't take the time to acknowledge it, without you knowing, subconsciously, that failure from this year will creep into the next year with you. So it's really important to acknowledge anything that's kind of in your past or things that you've struggled with this year, to point it out, identify what was it that you didn't like or that was a challenge for you, and that will help you to complete it for the next year. So for me, some challenges this year, this doesn't really relate with you guys too much, but it was a headache for me, was the whole process of selling the Barrytown campus in UTS. We're trying to do our best to keep it, preserve it. We had a whole kinds of proposals and different things like that. But in the end, we had to kind of let it go. And that was quite a challenge. Took me like 3-4 months to kind of process that. So that was one challenge for me. Another challenge was finding out that I was fired by memo from the national presidency. It was morning devotion the second day, and Dr. Young said, I think you're finished too now, Kimi. And then I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Anyway, I'll get into like the third part, lessons learned later. But yeah, it was a struggle. It was a challenge, and many times things happen in life that are unexpected, including maybe laid off, maybe an illness or relative or family situation, financial situation. There's many challenges that come up in life, and it affects us. We cannot not but be affected. But it's important to acknowledge those challenges that come, because then you can appreciate what you were able to also do despite those challenges in your life. Okay? So for me, again, that was a challenge. And the third challenge I would mention is, since August, coming back in this role, having to really restructure the New Jersey Family Church staff and finances. That's been a big challenge, because we were overspending as a community for first 9 months, and it was not sustainable. So we've had to make some really tough decisions in order to get back on track and balance our books, which I'm happy to say that I believe we were able to do. So from January, we'll be in the black. But yeah, that was challenging to have to go through that. So those were my 3 top challenges this year. I'd like you guys to take the next 90 seconds to reflect on what were some of your challenges in 2023. Okay, let's bring it back. Again, I know it's a short time to reflect, but please take some more time later, and we'll go into that. So I wanted to read a quote that I found encouraging to me about challenges. We must understand how important it is to persevere and tolerate. The brave person can win a victory in the first battle, but not even the bravest man will win battles continuously without ever losing. The man who perseveres may lose initially, but in the second and third conflict, his chances of winning are greater. So this was a quote from Father Moon. I would say it's not always about winning or achieving your victories each time. Many times, actually, the greatest lessons that you learn come from your failures, not necessarily from your victories. And so it's really important to take the time to really reflect on both the victories and the failures, and then see and ask yourself, what can I learn from those? What can I learn from those challenges, those victories? And through that challenge or failure now again becomes a building block for your future success. So challenge or failure is not a bad thing, guys. It's actually good to fail as long as you learn from it. Okay? So there's no such thing as failure as long as you learn from it. The most successful people are the ones who failed the most. They failed quickly. They failed forward so that they can learn from it and continue to grow. So instead of being afraid of failure, it's important to know, how do you process failure quickly? And how do you do that is simply by reflecting on the failure and saying, what can I learn from my failure or that challenge? Okay? So, let's see, what did I learn this year? Well, when I found the memo, found out that I was fired from national presidency, the biblical quote passage came to mind. I think it's Ecclesiastes, ECCL. Anyway, chapter 3, verse 1. For everything there is a season. For everything there's a season. So initially it was a shock, but then knowing that God knows that I love numbers, I quickly checked, how long did I serve in my national presidency? And I remember my usual cycle for leadership roles has been 2.5 years. So I checked, okay, I was appointed this month, this year, 2020, November. I counted, and it was 2 years, 6 months, 3 days. So God gave me 3 extra days for this round. And I really felt that beyond the circumstances, that God was working behind the scenes, that there was a meaning behind completing the term. Even though there were still more things I wanted to do in that role, I felt God was behind it, so my heart was at ease. So that was one thing that I learned, was really leaning onto this age-old wisdom for everything there is a season. The other thing I learned when I reflected was that God doesn't want to let me go from ministry quite yet. Some people immediately came up to me, they emailed me and said, oh, finally you're free. What are you going to do now? And I did think and explore different ideas, different passions that I have in coaching and leadership development and so on and so forth. But after spending 3 months in Las Vegas with President Dunkley, and him also reporting up to Mother, basically Mother asked Damien to have me continue to serve in a senior pastor role, which wasn't my original plan. But anyway, I did reflect, and I felt like there was something else that God needed me to do before retiring. So, anyway, God doesn't want to let go of me from ministry yet. And the last thing I reflected on, which was actually from a victory, was it's good to spend quality time regularly with family. So for those who are workaholics, we have sessions every Tuesday, was it? No, I'm just kidding. But we probably should. Many times we spend a lot of energy in mission and work, career, but I've learned that all of it, it's important to have a healthy balance and to spend quality time with family, because that's really the kind of the original essence of what God intended for each of us. So that was another key lesson. So I'd like to give you guys the next 90 seconds to reflect on, look back at your victories and particularly your failures or challenges. What did you learn from those challenges and victories? Let's take 90 seconds. Okay, let's bring it back. Okay, we're almost done, guys. So when I was reflecting on, lessons learned, I found this passage which I found encouraging. Many times, let's say you learned, okay, that didn't work for me this year. But you feel discouraged, like if it didn't work this year, why would it work next year? Anyone ever feel about that? Why set goals if I'm just gonna fail? Right? So it can be discouraging when you look at, some of the failures you experienced. But let's read. Even though a person may have some regrets from the past year, as long as he has hope and vision and determination to launch into the goal for the new year, that man can go on. If he has no vision and hope, however, that man is finished. Ooh. Without vision, the people shall perish, says the Bible. The greater the hope or sunshine, the greater are the obstacles or darkness to overcome. You think of sunshine as being bright because you already recognize the darkness. Because of darkness, you can appreciate brightness, and in that position, you can conquer darkness. So, one thing I want to mention here, or what I get from this passage, is really sometimes through going through that struggle or that challenge, you can more appreciate the things that you do have. And even that awareness itself can be a victory that you bring into it. And for each person, the level of challenge is different for different things. So for some of you, maybe getting up in 6 a.m. is easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? But for others, it's like, I don't know, it's like impossible. So for them, maybe getting up once a month at 6 a.m. would be a tremendous victory. You know yourself, and so it's important to know that the greater the challenge or greater the goals you have in life, the greater the challenges you will face. It's part of the process of growth. So don't be afraid of setting goals. We'll talk about that next week. Yeah, just take the time to reflect, acknowledge, and feel hope. You can continue to grow and learn and gain victory in your life, okay? As long as you apply this process of reflection, you will only do better. Trust me. You will only do better, okay? That's how God feels. That's how God feels for each of you. Okay, so let's review the 5 key steps. Claim your victories, acknowledge your challenges and failures, identify what you learned, which we just did, and tonight or throughout the day, I want you to also recommit to a new action for the new year and offer it up in prayer, okay? And really offer your heart openly. This is my year, God. Good or bad, please receive it and help me in the new year. And again, we have a Chuncheon prayer hall right behind here. Feel free to take time in prayer after service. Okay, now I'd like you to go into a discussion for the next 5 minutes. Turn to a neighbor, or you can continue to reflect on your own, but share what victories would you like to claim in 2023, and any challenges, any lessons learned. Turn to a neighbor and share what you reflected on. And then I'll hear back from some of you at the very end as well. Make sure you let the other person share. 40 seconds.
That's the first time it's from second time, this is the third time.
Okay, let's wrap up our reflections and discussion. Please thank your partner for sharing, or wrap up your own personal reflection. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Eva can hear me. Anyone else can hear me? Raise your other hand. And if someone is still talking next to you, raise their hand for them. All right, thank you. Okay, so I want to encourage you guys to continue the reflection later, but does anyone want to share something from their reflection, either a victory, a challenge, a lesson learned? Would anyone like to share? Yes, Ermgard.
Share one of my challenges. What? Okay. Oh, everybody knows me. I'm Irmgard. Anyway, I wanted to share one of my challenges is to adapt to new tech and software and changes like that. It's really tough for an older person, but one of my victories is I did it in one aspect. Well, I changed from QuickBooks desktop to QuickBooks Online. It was quite a big change.
All right, QuickBooks Online, congratulations. Anyone? Yes.
Hi, my name is Sanghi Soivan. 2023, my victory is I really determined to go to Las Vegas workshop. From there, I really learned how to pray, really. What is desperate prayer? This is what my breakthrough, my victory. And my second victory is I determined to attend Chanshman morning devotion every morning 6 to 7 from KEA. It's so deep in my heart with my own language, and we attended together every morning. No, through the Zoom. And my failure, 2023, failed determined to exercise and take care of my health. So I need to start.
Give her a hand. She determined to go to who? Shauna? Okay.
Hello, I'm Shauna. Victory, listening to my heart and making the decision to join Chanoguk Youth Missionary. And yeah, Pastor Nakimi helped to have confidence or clarity. So thank you. And I think challenge was just in making decisions, like so many decisions to be made in life as I'm entering like new areas of life. It's overwhelming and scary and difficult, but I think a lesson learned is that God does work through my decisions. If I just take ownership of it, God will work. I don't have to wait for people to tell me what to do or what decision to make. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll take one more.
Good morning, my name is Sylvain Miller. Yes, I have a beautiful victory this year, honestly, and it's also in part because of this beautiful man here, because I'm becoming a coach, and because of that, I was challenged by my client now that is a member in the West Coast, and I'm doing a 40 days condition with my wife, and my wife is Japanese, and anyway, she's introverted. And because we have a difficult situation, family situation, but believe it or not, after 31 years, then now she's opening up to me. And this is tremendous miracle for me because I was waiting for that. So sometimes God is using the most challenging situation to create a miracle. So through active listening, I cannot listen well, honestly, but now I'm learning. And she started to feel more peaceful, more confident to share whatever, sharing everything. So it's very overwhelming actually and very satisfying because I was feeling lonely in my couple, but now it's different. So it means it's never too late, right? Okay? So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Yeah, amazing miracles, modern day miracles still happen. Thank you, God. So yeah, I just want to conclude with really bringing this all back up to God's perspective. You know, here we understand through our true parents' teachings that God is our heavenly parent. And for those who have experienced being a parent, you know more than anything else, as a parent, you simply want your child to continue growing and learning. And this is the heart that God has for each of us. Whether you're 19 or 80, God still wants you to grow. You are still God's child. And God wants you to continue to learn while you're here on earth. So please keep that in mind. And let's have a victorious 2023. Offer it up. And we'll see you in the new year. Thank you very much.